Okay, so a while ago I reviewed these AIAIAI TMA2 Wireless Plus headphones. That was a mouthful. And the main selling point for these was that they offered ultra low latency wireless technology for music production and even mixing, making it possible to do your music cable free and move around your studio or just not have cables in the way. All of that technology ended up in a package costing $350, which prices some people out of this kind of technology. But what if I told you you could do the exact same thing with the headphones you already have for about 50 bucks? This Lekato wireless in-ear monitor system makes that possible, and I'm going to give you all the details about it. So you might notice I have my Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs. These are the Bluetooth version. So I do like to use the Bluetooth function for listening, but it's not great for music production. Those of you that have tried to make music with Bluetooth headphones, you know the latency is what kills it. You just can't do it. So if you see here, I have the receiver end of this setup clipped to my headphones with a small cable running down. Some might say this looks a little silly, but for what this does, I think it's really good. This pair is originally made to be an in-ear monitor system. Basically, you hook your transmitter up into whatever your audio source is, and then you have your receiver here, and it's meant to be used for stuff like live gigs where you need a wireless solution. This also happens to work really well for studio use. The quality coming out of this in my ears is indistinguishable from using an actual cable. Now, this is the same thing I'm accomplishing with these headphones with the receiver. These are the AIAIAI, but at a $350 price point. Now, there are some pros and cons with going with this Lekato setup, and that's what we're gonna get into right now. First, I wanna talk about the things I like better about these than this $350 setup right here. The first thing is that this comes with an on and off switch for both the receiver and the transmitter, which is much better than the buttons that come on this and this. Basically, in order to turn these on and off, you have to press and hold both of these buttons, one on the band, one on the receiver, press and hold them, and wait, and there goes the receiver, and it's still wait for the headphones, and there it goes. And then you have to do the same thing to turn them off. Press and hold, wait, and then they both turn off. First world problems, but really it is way easier to just boom, boom, turn it on and you're good to go. Boom, boom, turn them off and you're done. Another thing I appreciate about the Lekato setup is that it puts out significantly more power as far as volume goes. One of my biggest gripes with these has been the amount of power it takes to push audio. So when I'm hooking up to my studio setup at the desk, it's not a big deal because I'm using my audio interface and I can crank the volume as much as I need to. But if I'm hooking this up just to my iPad and I use a USB-C to 3.5mm regular dongle, it's not pushing enough volume, and these are kind of a little quiet. I have to kind of do it at max all the time. But I did kind of solve that issue by purchasing an external DAC. I can't remember the name of this one, but it was about 50 bucks and it works really well. I'll link it down in the description, but that kind of solves the problem with this. I still use this DAC even with the Lekato setup, but this puts out significantly more volume. So if you just wanted to use a regular dongle or USB-C hub, you might not even need to purchase a DAC, which makes this even a little bit cheaper, which is nice. There's volume up and down right here on the unit, and the pairing process is really easy. You just press and hold the pairing button here on this one and press and hold the pairing button on the transmitter, and then they automatically connect. Another thing I like about this setup more than the AIAIAI is the size of the transmitter. It's really not that big. This is the transmitter for the AIAIAI headphones, and you can notice it's probably at least 3 times as big. Both of these I have magnetic plates that I attached. This originally had a clip on the back that I took off and I attached a magnet plate. Same thing, I attached a magnet plate to this. But without those magnet plates, the thickness is pretty similar, but about 3 times as small for this transmitter. Now that does translate into one con with this setup, and that is the battery life. With this wireless setup, you're looking at about 5 hours continuous. So for me, that's like every 2 or 3 studio sessions, maybe 4. I throw this thing on the charger. You have to charge the transmitter and the receiver. Now with the AIAIAI setup, you're looking at about 16 hours in the headphones and about 30 hours in the transmitter. So That's a pretty significant difference, but again, cost to functionality, you're gonna have to judge that for yourself. Now, speaking of battery life and charging, when you go to charge the receiver and transmitter for Lekato, they do come with this Y-split cable that comes from USB-A to a USB-C. That's great, you can charge them both at the same time. The bummer part is most people are not using USB-A brick anymore. They're using USB-C. And this is one thing that kind of irritated me about this setup is I couldn't just use any old USB-C cable to charge this. If you have a USB-C cable going into a USB-C brick, it will most likely not charge this. So the way to get around it is you can either use the included cable and attach a USB-A to USB-C adapter to go into your brick. It'll work fine. Or you can use your own cable, and this is where it gets kind of silly. You plug that cable into a USB-C to USB-A right here. You can either plug that into your USB-A brick and be fine, or you can plug this USB-A back into a USB-C and then plug that into your USB-C brick and it will work, which is very strange, but that's how it is. So that's one minor quirk with this setup when it comes to charging. But there are even more benefits about this setup in comparison to the AIAIAI setup that I really like, and this is where it gets dope. According to the Lekato website, you can pair one transmitter with up to 6 different receivers. So if you wanted to pick up another receiver, they go for $29 on Amazon. You could, in theory, hook this transmitter up to both your headphones and have an additional receiver that you hook up to your studio speakers so that you can take your iPad setup and use it anywhere in your studio and still have your speakers running so that you can be free to move. Like I have a sit-stand desk, I like to move around the studio, so that could be really cool. You could also just take this same receiver that's on your headphones, unplug them from your headphones, and plug your speakers into this receiver if you want to be mobile, but still in the studio using the speakers. So I think that's pretty cool. One actually clutch use for this. For those of you that like to make music in the car, you can literally just take your headphones with you and this transmitter, plug this transmitter into your iPad, and then plug this receiver into your car stereo with the aux, and then you can sit anywhere in the car without having the steering wheel in your way, without having to stretch that cable awkwardly across the car and still make music. Like say you're taking your car on a trip to the beach and you want to use your car speakers to do your music production. You want to sit in the trunk, lift the lid up and make some music at the beach. Well, you can do that wirelessly by using this receiver in your car. So really quick, I want to show you guys how I'm actually using this to turn my iPad into a completely wireless portable setup for anywhere I go, to have wireless, no latency headphones. Let me show you. One quick note, if you don't want to have your receiver clipped onto your headphones, you don't have to do that. That's what I did. You could just run the included cable here from the receiver, which you could clip onto your belt or something, run it up to the headphones and plug it in. To me, it still feels like having a cable is just running to me, not something else. I just like having wires out of the way, so that's why I clipped it like this. This yellow cable did not come with it. This is a cable I added to make this happen. And for the Audio Technicas, I did clip it to the band as opposed to the ear cup because I wanted to be able to still fold these up and put them away. But back to the mobile setup, what I normally do is with a good Bluetooth MIDI controller, I like to set it up with my iPad in the Magic Keyboard case. And this is something proprietary that I've developed. It's these keyboard slots here that allow me to slot in my iPad's keyboard and have it attached. I'd love to know if this is something you guys would be interested in me selling. I've considered it, but haven't decided yet. But if this is something you guys would be interested in for your MIDI controller of choice, I've added these slots to several MIDI controllers. Maybe I could set up an Etsy shop or something to be able to sell these at an affordable price so you guys can do this too. Let me show you how it works. So I take the Magic Keyboard case. Mine has a little pencil slot holder on it. I slot that into the keyboard like that, and then I'll take this off, drop it in right here, pop it on like that. Take my USB-C DAC, plug that into the side, and because this keyboard is wireless, I don't even have to use a USB-C hub. I can just use this dongle, plug that into the Lekato transmitter right here, And I have a little magnet plate on the back of mine, which makes me be able to magnet it right here. Obviously, if you don't have that, it has the clip. You could just clip it right here on the bottom and that would work just as fine. And then I can turn this keyboard on like so, turn on my headphone receiver and the Lekato transmitter, and boom, wireless latency-free audio that I can take anywhere. I can go straight from the studio to the couch without having to change a thing. Walk out there with my headphones and this, and I'm chilling. Now, for those of you wondering, I am gonna have a review coming on this keyboard in the future. It's the Asmuse. It goes by a lot of different names, M-Wave, whatnot, but definitely gonna review that soon. If you wanna pick up the Lekato transmitter receiver setup, I'll leave links down in the description. I'll also go ahead and drop a link to the AIAIAI Studio Wireless. If you haven't seen my review on these, go check that out. And if you wanna cop that, I'll leave a link in the description for these as well. But please do the whole thing, like, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you in the next video.